back to another LinuxGameCast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week, is your game so shite it failed to get greenlit? Don't worry, there's still hope! AMD teases an amazing new CPU that you cannot has. Then we talk about girl power and how one developer wants to exploit it.
Rise! Rise! Someone made a terrain asset based off of Son of Nor's primary game mechanic. Steam stores your password, but will convenience let your account get owned. And Unvanquished gets some flair. And I can't think of a good Office Space joke to go along with this.
His name is Jim fucking Sterlingson, and he just called out Valve of all people. AMD introduces Fiji to the AMD GPU open source driver. I hear things got pretty hot after that. Freeablo sees another development release. Still no combat, though. Your gerbil lives to click another day.
I'm Ben Stone here at LGC, actual switching the bits, doing all this fun nightmare fuel here in Athens, joined every week by our tame Canadian podcaster, Master Sphane.
Oh my god!
Who are you? Hi! Plagiarism himself, and together with Shatrealm Dynamic, we form a bin of a cocaine Voltron. Before we get started, we'd like to see what's going on in each other's life organs. J-Man, I heard things are kind of cool over there in Canada.
Yeah, no, I got tired of the constant of my CPU fan, and so I picked up.
Not the cops chasing you, the fan.
Well, you know, after I went and got the fan from the store, the cops did chase me, so I had to put up with some more of that.
What did you end up buying, baby?
The same one you had. My roommate actually has the same cooling brick as well, just because it's so cheap. But it is a pain in the butt to get that sucker installed, though. Let me tell you.
Putting the back
at least, yeah, at least like the
Backplanes.
mounting bracket. Once you get like the little spidery thing positioned, it just screws in. The thing that affixes the copper copper contact pipes to the mounting kit is also kind of iffy because it's like that little peg you got to stick shit in. Also got a new mouse. The other one was on the fritz.
Yellow swag.
Oh, hey, yellow LEDs.
What's going on in Space Portugal?
Oh, man, the fucking cooler has a fucking yellow LED. That's all. Anyways.
Yeah, not a whole lot, actually. It's been mostly work, come home, play Shadow of Mordor, work, come home, play Shadow of Mordor. That was it for me.
Over here in Finland, not a whole lot. I just want to say like a little bit of a PSA because I just happened to catch it. If you submit some hate mail to us, which we love it, we scream back in our direction, it's awesome. You need to at least go through the effort to bullshit an email address that the server can resolve. Because if it doesn't, it goes into a spam folder that gets automatically deleted. I just happened to check and there was like 15 fucking posts in there. And I don't know if it's like legitimate spam. It's an anti-spam measure and all that. If you don't do that, we don't see it. And that gives me the sides. Makes me a sad panda. But the horse is never really that sad, is it, J-Man?
No, the horse is just not really sure how he's going to use a password manager. It's quite above his level of intellect. It's a Steamworks update! Yeah, so this is a thing now. The latest Steam client fixed a bug where when you choose retry, it'll not make you re-enter your credentials again. Good thing, bad thing? I don't know.
I was genuinely happy with this. I've always had the issue of I got a couple things to auto start. You know, I have Chromium, Chrome Beta, regular Chrome, and Firefox, and Thunder Chicken. And while that's going on, if I tried to log into Steam and be like, network connection error, blah, please re-enter your credentials. And I was like, yeah. So I just wait forever. We're talking about first world impatient squirrel problems. Because, let's face facts, that takes like 4 seconds. Like, can't wait, must log into Steam. This fixes that. I mean, if it doesn't get through that initial thing, it'll do this amazing thing in 2015. It'll just retry it until it hooks up. So I'm kind of happy with it. But you had some moon technology for me, didn't you?
Oh, no, I don't. Well, I don't. I'm just curious. Now that this feature is in place, what's the over/under of there being a security issue regarding this feature within 2 years? I don't know. Maybe
2 years. Assuming we're taking into account Valve's past couple of issues with security and everything that they have implemented, and people have found like an exploit within, I don't know, a week or two at most. Yeah, I'm going to say a week before this is exploited to hell.
Well, I look forward to taking your money. There's also something about streaming Ark Survival Evolved for people who actually bought into that early access nonsense. But Mr. Sterling, that guy that Pedro idolizes to the point where he's actually admitted in private conversation that he would like to have a body pillow in the shape of him.
That I recorded.
It's not so
is recorded
anymore,
yes.
but yes,
that is some
I
issue
wouldn't
with Steam
mind.
Greenlight. So why don't you tell us about your boyfriend, Pedro?
I would not mind a body pillow in the shape of Jim Sterling or his brain.
You
as
heard it
were.
live, folks. Up next.
But yeah, he basically calls out Valve in where there's an agreement that all developers or would-be developers have to agree to when it comes to putting games up on Greenlight. And Steam itself is not enforcing those rules. Like, say, you have to have a video when it comes to having a Greenlight page. You have to at least have a trailer of your game. And the very first example, the very first image you see is Island Light 2, which does not have a video. And he actually goes through a bunch of different Greenlight pages.
Portuguese.
Yeah, he goes through a bunch of different Greenlight pages and he puts up links for each and every single one of them. And I could hear all the way out here in Portugal the screeching that came from Bellevue when this article went up, because most of the links that he posted on this article are now gone. Valve has actually nuked them from existence. And remember, kids, Valve is a money-grubbing company just like any other. They don't care about you, they only care about your money. They'll only act if someone with some sort of pull will actually call them out on their bullshit. And you guys may remember when the Euro Truck Simulator 2 guy, Thomas Duda, when he got tired of waiting for them to fix an exploit in the news section, they banned him and then immediately backpedaled when the video games media kind of started covering the story. I'm not saying that you should boycott Steam because they're evil or anything. I'm just saying that if you're getting in bed with the devil, do your homework.
Well, I mean, that's always been Valve's approach, is reactionary. It's like, we're just going to do it until somebody calls us out on it. Then we'll do something.
Yeah.
And
That's how their MO consistently works, though. If you have to actively enforce rules, then that costs time and money and resource. Valve would rather direct that internally than have to deal with their community things, and it really only becomes a thing that they action if, like Pedro says, someone makes a big stink about it. It's like your insurance company or your hospital or anything like that.
up next,
Rise.
Yes.
raisins.
Oh, yes. So, you guys remember that game we threw chairs at a couple months ago, Son of Nor? Yeah, someone actually... Yeah, it turns out that their main feature is actually just a terrain generation tool that this guy is willing to sell to you for the low price of $45 US.
$40.
But yeah, it's for making terrain. It's apparently a procedural terrain generator that you can then modify after the fact. It's part of the standard Steam game development software thing that they're trying to hawk these days. No Mac version, oddly enough, does come for Windows and SteamOS. But again, it really raises the question: if you're not going to push people to develop on SteamOS, why provide game development tools for it?
Unity?
Oh, you right? Yeah, we'll get to that in the news section. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, I guess if you got to knock out some terrain, I mean, just reading a little bit about this sauce, the price, I mean, considering some terrain generation, procedural terrain generation is a lot more expensive than this. And this basically exports to everything like Blender, your mom, you name it. You can do that business. So, I don't know. It's good to see tools.
It's true. Yeah, it's great to see tools, but let's see some people actually develop games on Linux.
Yeah, and not just the shitty kind of Unity asset flips that we've been getting lately. Sheltered! Family comes first. It is a War of Mine.
Wait.
meets
You mean it's not a
iOS.
Heisenberg simulator? Because
Jesse, we gotta cook and build an extensive underground meth
There
lab.
is the RV there, yes, but it is kind of like War of Mine mixed with that iOS game Fallout Shelter, with a little bit of Final Fantasy for the combat system. So if you're into that and you don't mind hipster pixel graphics, this may be the game for you. Of course, take into account that it's still in early access, so you get what you're paying for. And for an early access game, 13 euros, how much is that over there, Ben?
let's see. This is
It's
clocking in at
reasonably priced,
14.99
so-
wet stinky caches, so it's legit.
Okay, so it's sort of kind of maybe well regionally priced.
I don't know,
So-
man. Like, the first time I saw that, I genuinely was thinking, this is somebody saw, this War of Mine, and let's make it a little less dark and hipster pixel all the things. And
Yeah,
Retro
no,
inspired
I've
graphic.
noticed that a couple of these games have come out with this XCOM style base management thing. This War of Mine, certainly Fallout Shelter, and now this. But I don't know. Just from a gameplay perspective, I find just that boring. At least with XCOM, it's you're progressing so that your squad will become super badasses and will take out
Yeah.
aliens in no time at all. Doesn't afraid of anything. But here it's just just keep playing it and stay alive. It's kinda
But in
boring.
XCOM, the focus was on the whole combat, the tactics-based combat system.
Yeah,
And here-
that's the point I'm getting at, though. Is this sort of gameplay mechanic is a nice addition to an existing game, but I don't think it's engaging enough, at least
Yeah.
for me personally, to be its own type of standalone game. That's all I'm
And
saying.
definitely not in early access. Just saying.
all right.
Oh yeah, it's time for some disgruntled lesbians. This is Asphyxia. I like how in the show notes Vince titled this Wayne Brady. Because Wayne Brady might have to choke a bitch. Well, actually, there are no black people in this game, so Wayne Brady probably doesn't show up.
That's racist.
But it is it's true. It's oh man. Send your hate mail to Liam at gamingonlinux.com. No, this is a visual novel dating sim where you play a depressed anime girl who's trying to get her girlfriend back, and apparently it's a big emotional story. And I don't know. It seems quite porny. I think we need a new Steam category for just Steam porn. Hashtag Steam porn.
Yeah, this was something that I was looking through this. I was like, visual novel. And there was one review, and I want to quote this from Bog Thrall. It says, I ask you, writers of the world over, what about happy lesbians vexes you? And I was like,
I don't know, Fulbright Studio. Why don't you tell us that?
No, I was looking at this and I'm looking at the screenshots and I'm like, stocking and thong wearing porcelain dolls falling in love with each other. Someone had a lot of free time in order to work on their fetish.
I don't know,
That
man.
guy's
I mean,
name is
I
Pedro
can definitely get
Benitez.
behind like a good story and all this, but I definitely got the sketchy vibe that this was written by some middle-aged dude. And
It's totally written by that guy from that one South Park episode who jacks off to people while they're taking a dump. But speaking of that, up next,
12 Labors of Hercules 3, Girl Power.
I don't even.
Okay.
Oh god.
Stick with me.
All right.
The only reason I initially clicked on this, I said girl power, and I'm not really big into the whole human male, human female thing. I'm kind of neutral about shit like that. But even I was like, girl power. We need more girls in gaming and we need stuff like that, and anything that will encourage them to, pick up all this business, get into technology and all that. Then I clicked on it, and I saw this right over here on the right side of the graphic. I mean, something that is supposed to empower young ladies in gaming. On the far right side, you have this sad-looking lady in a bikini clutching her necklace, looking very distressed. And I'm like, are you fucking shitting me? Really? I am at a loss.
Distress. That seems like ennui. She's bored. She's like unfulfilled with her life because all she does is stand around in a leopard print bikini.
Anyway,
Well,
what is it?
some
Mega
cow
Murder.
thing.
Free the hero and accompany him to the adventures including the Forest, Amazon and Mount Olympus, and 12 Labors of Hercules 3, Girl Power, ! 101, currently 66% off.
Yeah, it's $1. So
B-Man AI, I thought it was an Android game, right?
It is. It is very much an Android game where you just click on resources in order to, gather them, and then you wait for the increasingly longer cooldown timer to run out, and then you just rinse and repeat. I honestly kind of
was this ever pay to win?
What?
Was this ever pay to win on Android?
I have no idea. I actually failed to see the point of this game outside of the obvious feminist cash grab that they're desperately attempting to do, which they're failing miserably at, mind you.
Oh, I hope they get jumped on for this.
Any feminist worthy of that title
you gotta check your privilege.
They're going to see this one coming just from the blurb alone. They don't even need to get the game to see, oh, cash grab. Yeah, this is bad. Real bad.
If you have nieces or if you have a daughter and something like this, and here's the only qualifier I actually have is I was raised by my mom, basically by herself, because my dad kind of noped and dead, not disappeared.
Well, he did kind of disappear.
Well, in a way.
Kinda, yeah.
He traveled to the land of the beer volcano with the midget in the tree with the flying spaghetti monster. But she was a mechanical engineer, and I showed her Besiege, and she's like, yes, teach kids this. And she doesn't say teach boys this, teach girls this. We need a game that teaches problem solving, all that. It doesn't matter. Yep. You don't really need to try to cash grab anything. Just brilliant stuff like that to get kids involved. And this thing, this atrocity, that is not what this is. This is just horrible. This is bad. And it's bad enough to get me ticked off at it. And I'm, I said, I'm not involved in shit like this when it comes to the...
It's not even that. It's if you want women to play games, create universally appealing games that have something for everyone in your intended demographics, and just let the game's quality speak for itself. Don't try and be girl power. Don't try to be anything else. Just put out good quality games with good quality appeal, and people will come. And don't put out shitty Android ports on Steam Store. We're sick of them. It just fills the Linux gaming subset of games available on Steam with more and more and more crap. We need better games.
Mm-hmm.
You know what else we need? Some money. Jordan, we hear that some people gave us some money this week.
Yes, we have some mentally deficient fans who decided that it is in their best interest to allow us to exist in perpetuity by providing us more money. And this week it was Chris D and TechMad have both joined the ranks of our Patreon followers. I think maybe one of them joined the Super Squad. Not sure. Didn't check the Patreon page. But regardless, you too can help us out if you feel that the abuse you receive every week, every Saturday night at 9 o'clock Eastern Moon Time is worth it. So hop on over to our Patreon page. We got some goals. Up next, we're about $145 away from creating some novelty mirrors, t-shirts. But of course, we have our pledge goals. 5 cents or more gets you access to our lovely players videos a week early, and $2.50 gets you access to the show notes per episode. That's pretty good.
So I definitely want to throw in that we have some new trying. We kind of fell behind, but we all managed to get together this week, and we knocked out 2. And
we're gonna do some interesting stuff with Portal as well.
Thanks to you guys, kicking us at what Stinky Cash is. They are now 1080p. They are 60 frames a second. You're going to have a better time watching them, and I hope you enjoy that. And we're going to be doing the Portal 2 coming up. We need one for this month, and it's going to be kind of fun. Thanks. It really helps us out, even 5 cents. It's brilliant.
Yes. But yeah, up next, though, more drivers, and more drivers, and more cores, and bees!
Because when it feels like it kick in the teeth, it's the news section.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And in true LGC tradition...
Smoothest transition ever.
Yes, I know, right? If you're not watching us live, you should be. But in true LGC fashion, we start the news with some drivers. NVIDIA.
NVIDIA released their new beta drivers. It's the 35506. Got some interesting stuff in here. There's some bug fixes. But the cool thing is they're starting to add EGL support into their driver. By the way, this is using the brand new build system, so... you should see no impact whatsoever unless you're a packager, in which case
that's something I actually wanted to talk to you about. You've installed it. I didn't pull the trigger on the LTS box just because I was like, things are working too close to show day. Has it changed at all from chmod start.run then just run?
Nope.
Nope.
Yeah,
No,
that's basically
they just changed where stuff gets installed. That's literally it. But yeah, speaking of new stuff, they're adding EGL support, so we're probably going to see some more Wayland-focused releases coming down in the future. They've also added some more VDPAU profiles, and so yeah, then beyond that, it's just your standard bug fixes and the new build systems in full swing. I've been running this since last Sunday, and I haven't seen any issues. Mordor has been working fine, so on and so forth. Pedro, did you try this out yet?
Yeah, I did. On Courier 21, it just works. There wasn't actually that much of a difference on Shadow of Mordor, at least not in the benchmark, and from the FPSs I was getting in-game, I was fine.
All right. Well, if you're on a high-end AMD card, there's some hope on the horizon, isn't there, Pedro?
There would be, but this is the AMD GPU. This is their new driver that they're going to implement. It should be coming at around kernel version 4.2. So if you have an AMD Fiji, the 285X, the R9 285X, or the 390 something, or the Fury X, if you're on one of those cards on Linux.
Nano, I guess that's the politically correct way to refer to them at the conventions, is the Furry Nanos.
But yeah, if you're on an AMD, on one of those new Fiji AMD cards on Linux, why? But yeah, you have support on the open source drivers now for the Fiji architecture. There's no power management though. The Alexander Ducher, which was the guy who
is his name actually Ducher?
Yeah. But he said that there is no power management yet. So unless you live in the southern hemisphere right now, or you need a space heater of some sort, you may want to hold on to your money,
and you want to contribute to global warming some more.
Yeah. But you may want to save your money right now, or get an NVIDIA GTX 960, which, according to what Reddit says, performs on par with an AMD Fury X with the latest proprietary drivers. So,
plus you can play Shadows of Mordor. There's that.
Yeah, considerably well. And it is only a $200 card when compared to the Fury X, which is a $600 MSRP card. So, yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, I've genuinely been a bit confused. Who ran out and bought the Furry or the Furry Nano or the
Monster
Furry
Cameron?
X outside of AMD?
Laravel.
You shut the fuck up. I'm going to finish this sentence. Outside of fanboys, because I run AMD CPUs. I've been running AMD CPUs since the K5, so don't get me who's like, you hate AMD. I was like, eat a bag of dicks. Price performance. When the Furry X first came out, and they're like, this is going to crush the 980, and then it came out, and this is kind of similar to the 980.
Yeah, the Fury X, which was supposed to compete with the 980 Ti, is basically on par with the 980.
But, speaking of CPUs, Ven, I hear there's some sauce on the horizon that makes you kind of drooly.
Listen to me, Harry. Cores everywhere. AMD reveals a monstrous exascale heterogeneous processor EHP with 32 x86 Zen cores and Greenlight. HBM2 graphics on a 2.5D interposer. And what does that mean? Fucking all if I know, but I just hope it's fast. 32 cores, correct me if I'm right. They're going to try to stack the memory the way they're doing now. That's one of the cool things about the Furry X, even though it's limited to 4 gigajoules right now. But
vertical stack now?
Exactly.
Yeah.
HBM.
Trying this business. And this comes from WCECFtech.com. Like everything else, you'll find it in our show notes. But, we'd heard about that 16-core variant, but this is AMD coming out with the truth sauce in your face organ saying, yes, we're making this, but here's the downside for you, Brad. You're probably never going to be able to buy it from us because...
Oh, no, it's probably just going to be server market exclusive. I mean, something like that would cut our render time down to, maybe 15, 20 minutes?
Yeah, with, some M.2 lives and YOLO RAID.
PCIe, NVMe SSDs.
Well, P-Man, I mean, I think you had a good point. I mean, it's not going to be consumer grade, but this is what they need to hit. They need to kick Intel into the teeth for the first time in 5 years eventually. Please, or I'm going to have to buy Intel.
They really need to. At this point, AMD could compete with NVIDIA and Intel on both the processor and GPU market, and they can't. Their processors perform like shit when compared to Intel, and even though their hardware is fine when it comes to GPUs, again, the drivers perform like ass under Linux. I don't know what they're doing.
Yes.
Oh, no, we were having that conversation earlier this week where we're both considering building new PCs.
Well, that's one of the things
year,
that I was genuinely about to say. The latest that just came out, what's the Intel new sauce?
Broadwell.
Skylake?
What is it, Skylake? Or?
Skylake, yeah.
All
Skylake, yeah.
The quad-core parts of that, which are or hyper-threaded, they're like $350, and this time next year, if AMD doesn't have something competitive, right, and I'm going to be looking at if AMD's like, well, we have something that competes on that at the same price, then I'll buy AMD, but, the price, is going to come down, and it'll be the first time since my Pentium 70, might have been a Pentium 75, that I will have bought an Intel processor because it is just getting ridiculous, and I don't want to pay $350, but I'd rather give AMD $350 if they come out with something competitive, J-Man.
I mean, sure, I'd like to give AMD money because Intel definitely needs some competition in the CPU department. But ultimately, it comes down to performance. If AMD is saying we're not competing on price and we're going to release a CPU that performs just as good as last year's CPUs from Intel, I'm just going to buy last year's Intel CPU for when it goes on sale because all the new stock comes in.
Yeah, and the Zen architecture seems fine, but it doesn't seem like these will be consumer processors. It's
no, they'll have consumer models for sure, but all the cool shit's going to be in the server market where they've already heavily lost.
Yeah,
but speaking of losers,
Hey, are you just trying to tell me that maybe we should let it go?
We should let it go. Let it go.
All right, game launcher
for LEDWorks
and 3.6 LEDWorks. It's out. Basically, this is going to focus on game launcher from, outside of Unreal Engine 4, LEDWorks is the other native Linux-supported game engine that just is not feature complete. But they've come up with this brilliant idea. When I say they, the one guy, Josh Clint, I believe is, Josh Clint.
Yeah.
Yep.
He came up with this idea, and apparently Steam's like, okay, if you create a game using LEDWorks and you can't get on Greenlight, you can put it into this, what are they calling it? The game launcher. Cleverly disguised as the game launcher. And you can use that, and people will be able to play your LEDWorks game through game launcher without even having to go through the Greenlight. And we've discussed earlier in the Steam section how easy it is to get on Greenlight. So we're not exactly dealing with AAA titles, are we, P-Man?
No, not at all.
Well, and they seem to be, every update we deal with from LEDWorks is like, oh yeah, no, we're making this game launcher. It's going to be awesome. If you can't get on Greenlight, it's going to make gaming all democratized. But the thing they have yet to produce is a high-quality game made in LEDWorks. And I've been saying this for months. No, literally years now. If they cannot produce their killer app using their toolchain, no one will ever use it aside from pet projects.
Well, they need to do a lot of work just on every developer I've talked to, and they said, yeah, I've tried LEDWorks, and it's like, then I tried it under Linux, and it's like, it's bad under Windows, but half of the features are not even there under Linux, and there's no way in hell I would ever use it.
And my big concern here is, like, if LEDWorks actually wants to have a future as a game development platform, it has to stop being the thing that you make my first game with and start being something that is actually a legitimate and powerful content creation tool.
Well, I mean, it has to do something because, I mean, it's eventually we already have the Unreal Engine 4. We'll eventually get the Unity because they're like, shit, doing that. And we already have Godot. Yeah, they're definitely going to have to do something. But do you think they'll remember to bring a towel, J-Man?
Oh, they might. This is Alpha 42 from Unvanquished. That's right. They've changed their name to Unvanquished because I apparently can't read. But yeah, this is their August release. They do release every month. They get their commit logs at the bottom with their wonderfully descriptive, lots of converting of XML. But the highlight reel is as follows. They've been working with the Xenotic team. You might remember them as the other open source first-person shooter. But the Unvanquished engine can now be used as a standalone engine if you want to build a game on top of that. Which a couple other, I think, what was this? Some European companies trying to take advantage of that. But anyways, they've also Pedro actually brought up a good point. They are getting their stuff off of SourceForge because that is it. Speaking of sinking ships, that is a very, very
yeah.
And
No,
if you are an open source
because
developer who has their
SourceForge
project still hosted on SourceForge, don't.
In case you've been living under a rock, get the fuck away from SourceForge, because they have been injecting adware onto installers and onto source code. It's not pretty.
And when he says get off, you go scorched earth policy on your project, because if you just move it and leave it, and they go, oh, well, that's abandoned, they'll take it over for you because they're nice guys and put some adware in it and all that brilliant stuff.
My favorite commit from this entire thing, though, was it E2024F3, which just simply reads, Flare! Strike pose!
Diablo! Hail Santa.
Hey,
Santa.
Your story.
No, this is Free Diablo. And I'm sorry about that. I'm a little drunk.
Jesus Christ.
But yeah, no, this is the open source rebuild of the... This is the open source rebuild of the original Diablo engine, and they're up to version 0.3. There's still no combat, but they have kind of introduced a whole bunch of
cow level. That is the biggest crime, is they did not include cow level support in the original Diablo.
That's kind of an end game type thing. Just we'll get to that eventually. I'm sure they haven't forgotten about that, but they have fixed a bunch of things, fixed a couple of bugs. This update is mostly GUI stuff and the random generation bits for level 3. Like I said, they fixed a few bugs, but at the end of the day, this is still not playable, as it were, because there is no combat, and since the original Diablo was very much a hack and slash action RPG type thing,
it was the hack and slash action RPG, Pedro.
Yep. Back in its day, it was the.
Yeah, but one thing I'm curious: did you ever play the unofficial Diablo expansion Hellfire?
No, I don't.
It was produced by Sierra. It added like the monk, and there were 2 unfinished classes, the barbarian and the bard, and they added a couple additional levels and spells and whatnot. I'm curious if this will actually be compatible with it. Not too many people played it, but it would be kind of interesting if they actually got that working.
Yeah, he's saying that he's hoping to get on combat multiplayer and all that business, and that's fun. One thing I want to ask: do you need the original alt assets for this?
Yes, you do. Yeah. But those are simple enough to get. You can actually just buy the game from Blizzard and install it online. Their Blizzard installers work. But up next, Verm's Son. It confuses and angers Pedro because this is an IndieDB page for a Linux game that doesn't have a Linux version on the IndieDB page.
I was kind of looking at that page, and I'm like, platform, Windows. So,
but you know,
for Linux,
there is a link on this page that goes to their Steam page, in which there is a Linux client. But they also provide a link to a GitHub because you can check out the assets for this game.
What is it? I've never heard about it. Well, what's the game about?
It's just like a strategy game in the vein of your Command and Conquer or your StarCrafts. I mean, it's apparently inspired by mythology, history, and fiction, if you believe their little blurb. I didn't actually get it compiled, just because they don't really provide instructions on how to do that. It looks like their GitHub. It honestly looks like their GitHub is just the assets, and you gotta pay for the engine. I have no idea, but it's $4 on Steam if you're interested in checking that out. If you have a real-time strategy itch that needs to be scratched. Pedro, did you...
I've honestly never heard of the Strategus engine.
No one has. And on that bombshell, coming up next, we throw chairs at Shadow of Mordor that are caught in between the walls of Arda and some other obscure nerd reference. Up next! Welcome to Earth. Well, Middle Earth, anyways. We're reviewing Shadows of Mordor, a game that takes place in the wonderful fantasy universe created by George R.R. Tolkien. I think the book was called Eragon, and they made some game based on it now. You can pick it up for $50, basically all around, but there's no regional pricing. Yeah, it's developed on a heavily modified Lithtech Jupyter engine, and you can check this out at Monolith, or you can check this out, the Linux version at least, at feralinteractive.com. This was developed by Monolith Productions and ported by our good friends at Feral. Now that Brad is gone, that was his last action, is giving us keys for this. So, what is it? Fight round Mordor and uncover the truth of the spirit that compels you. Discover the origins of the Rings of Power. Build your legend and confront Agent Smith. And finally save Hogwarts. And of course, with any game that we cover here, it faces the CHAIRQUISITION. 1 chair means that it's garbage. 2 chairs means that it's meh. 3 chairs means that it's pretty good. 4 chairs means that it's awesome sauce. And we also have categories that do mix with the working, shiny sounds, controls, and fun. And since this is going to be a long review, let's just kick into it. Ven, make with the working.
Brother Svang, all right. How does it work on the Ubuntu 14.04, 81... What do I have, an 8150?
8150.
8150 octo-core business, YOLO RAID SSD, 980 powered, 4K displayed box of business and all this. All right, let's just get to the brass tacks on this. It's playable-ish on high, but you definitely have to keep in mind that I'm throwing a 980 organ at it. Performance, well, to be honest, it's a bit shite compared with the Windows version. Even on low, it struggles to maintain 60 FERPs at 1080. However, it never had the herky-jerks. Instead, the whole game slows down.
It's kind of like G-Sync.
It's kind of a brilliant thing. But we're talking about mix with the workings. It does still fail to close on occasion. Really, you'll notice that. You'll close and you'll come back and maybe I want to play it again. This game is still currently running. And that's not happened once. That's probably happened 5 or 6 times. It's a known bug that has yet to be fixed. And on top of that, it will spite crash. I've had 3 spite crashes, just hung up, and I was like, what? Damn it. Hope that's saved. And to its credit, I've read a lot of people saying, well, the save games get corrupted. Mine have not received such corruption. So, with that slowdown, the performance issues, and the spite crashes, I can't give it a perfect 4, and I'm going to give it 3.
Yeah, actually, apparently the save game corruption thing is an issue with Steam, not with Shadows of Mordor itself. It's with the Steam Play syncing your save game and not doing a very good job about doing it. Yeah, but on the Fedora 22 AMD 1090T NVIDIA GTX 980 powered box of SSD 4K-ness by my foot, it runs. It wasn't running last week, but once I got my mitts on the SSC 4 patch, everything was working. Yeah, performance sucks. I'm noticing a lot lower frame rates than what Ben and Pager were reporting. May have to do with lacking SSE4 as an instruction to accelerate some computations. Probably, maybe not. Yeah, I was ending up playing it at 1080p just because it's miserable. It's like maybe 29 to 35 frames a second at 4K. It's not good. But, I mean, beyond that, I haven't run into any spite crashes, and ever since I got the patch from Feral, everything's working fine, so I'll give that 3 chairs. Dinging it 1 just because the performance is ass! Pedro.
Yeah, on the FX8370E overclocked 4.2 gigahertz, 16 gigs of 1080 of 1866 RAM, and the GTX 970 Strix on 1080 with the Ultra preset with depth of field disabled. It runs all right. You can tell that the performance is not all there, and sometimes the frames dip so low, the input lag becomes rather obvious. But the thing that annoys me is that most of the frame dips tend to happen when you're like running around and it's raining and there's lightning. And then there's lightning somewhere off screen, and the frames will dip from the high 60s, 70s to like 30. It's something that it's not even on screen. It's kind of annoying. So for me, it gets 3 chairs.
All right, so that's 3 chairs for Mix with Working. Up next, Shinny and Sounds. Ben, how about that water phone?
Water phone, baby. All right, wait, hang on. Is it raining outside? Because I checked more than once. Really, I did playing this game. And we did have some storms in there. And I was like, is it? Because it was raining in the game. Genuinely convincing enough to make me take off the handset and look outside. And I'm like, oh, shit, it wasn't. That's good. The atmospheric sound is really that hella amazeballs. I mean, it goes well beyond that. And it genuinely goes double for the voice acting. That's completely top notch. The soundtrack ranges from really serious sauce to lighthearted fuckery. And that's genuinely difficult to pull off in most cases. The background noise for several of Ratbag's scenes almost feels out of place, but it works. But how does it look, you're saying? Vin, on that 980, how does it look? Is it running good? Even on the lowest settings, you're not going to be disappointed with the way the game looks. I mean, there's going to be a lot of texture pop in, but once you get there, and, the polygons actually fill in, and it looks all right. But on the highest settings, it could very well be the best-looking Linux game in the world. So, I'm going to have to give that business 4 chairs.
Ooh. Yeah, the cinematics look amazing, but you can thank Weta Workshop for that. They contributed heavily to the CG for this game. Interestingly enough, I can pretty much by ear ID all the voice actors when they show up. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, this is a AAA game, so it certainly has the AAA pedigree. The graphics are amazing. Even on high with like some of the features disabled, it still looks awesome. But yeah, Ven is certainly right. The atmospheric sound design is very, very, very well done. I too, it was raining here recently, so I too was like, shit, was that actually lightning or was that this thing? Oh, wow, it's good Foley. One thing that really sticks out, so much water phone. If you're unfamiliar with that instrument, go look it up and you'll realize that this was 90% of the soundtrack for Shadows of Mordor. But it looks good, it sounds good, and it's your standard AAA fare on Linux. So I'll give it 4 chairs.
Yeah, top-notch voice acting. Although, a few hours into the game, you'll start to hear repeats. I'm like, wait a second. You sound like just that Uruk I killed 5 minutes ago. And
because there's like 12 voice actors for the entire game.
Yeah. This is one of the very few games since Counter-Strike Global Offensive that actually made me want to play with these blinky headset that you see here. The Linux version, though, it doesn't support surround sound 5.1. The Windows version does. Still, the directional audio from stereo alone is pretty good. And the music, every now and again, I felt like it was a little too loud for what was going on. But I took it down a couple of notches, and it's good. Right now, it's pretty good. The graphics, of course, look amazing. This is a AAA game on Linux. It's amazeballs. For a AAA game that doesn't, take place in a post-apocalyptic Russian subway station, that's pretty good. And the second area, which takes place by the Great Seashore, can't remember what the actual name was, but it doesn't matter. It looks very green.
Someone call Stephen Colbert!
It looks very green in contrast with the gray-brown things of the first area, which is Undun. And all in all, Shiny and Sounds, this is AAA level, and it doesn't matter how much love indie developers pour into their games, this is on a whole new level. 4 chairs.
All right, so that's 4 chairs for Shiny and the Sounds. And up next is Control. Ven, tell us the story about how you put a controller through your monitor.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gather around. Let's talk about this. Initially, I tried this with the old keyboard gerbil combo of PC glory. I mean, that's a thing. After an hour and some learned abilities, it was Full Metal CXMCM Butterfly #XKCD. It's like, there's too much going on. I'm just thinking, is this a typing instructor? Nay, it's not. And I genuinely, for once, wished I had a Turbo YOLO Gerbil with all the buttons, like P-Man with all the programs. I could have probably pulled that off if I could have mapped more stuff. In what can only be described as defeat, I picked up the X-Clone controller and made with the button mashing, and for the most part, it worked. Sorry, did I mention the input lag? That shite's real, son. I thought P-Man was exaggerating, but I have been noped more than once by pressing the right stick. It's your little camera hanging right here. And it responded like this. This is a dramatic reenaction. When I hit the right stick to move the camera, the right stick went, "What am I? A printer? A monitor? Maybe a webcam? Oh, that's right, I'm a controller." Moves. Yeah, got me killed to death too many times. And don't even get me started about Spider Talon. Spider Talon. Sticks to walls, gets you killed. That's really all I have to say about the controls. I'm going to give it 2 chairs. They're not busted, and I think the controls are... this was genuinely meant for a console game to be played with some type of controller, and I believe the input lag is mostly related to the performance of the game. So it's not necessarily bad controls, it's just having to work around that limitation. So 2 chairs on that. It's not busted, but it needs some TLC.
Yeah, speaking of input lag, when you're dying and you're getting that second chance and you're like, "Oh yeah, move the analog stick in this direction." I'm like, "Okay." And then it takes a couple seconds, like, "Oh, you're moving me in this direction." Oh no, too late.
Oh, yeah, and sometimes you just hit the Y button just in case.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And oh man, no. But I mean, the game works over using the DualShock 4 PlayStation 4 controller over Bluetooth and wired. All the prompts are correct based on your controller. I swapped it out with the Xbox controller, and when you have a PlayStation controller plugged in, it's, oh yeah, triangle, cross, square, circle. For Xbox controller, it's BAXY. That's all very, very nice. If you've played games like Assassin's Creed or Arkham Asylum, then you basically know how this game controls. It's pretty standard fare for this sort of action, stealthy parkour beat 'em up. The camera controls are really, really fucking screwy. Ven touched on it a little bit, but when you just like walk into an area and the camera's like, "I'm gonna reposition myself," now you can see the 2 walls in front of you and not the knife heading towards the base of your skull, which killed me to death a couple times.
Enjoy this fight. I'll zoom in on this bush.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's great. Especially when you're riding any of the beasts. Not enough to ding that a chair though. The climbing though, jeez. Yes. No, I want to go down. You want to go over? No, I want to go down onto the platform. Oh, you want to drop all the way to the floor? No, I want to descend to this platform so I can stealth kill this stupid archer. Oh, I got it. Let's just, I don't even freaking know anymore. That'll get a ding to chair, so that'll go to 3.
Yeah, I had heard people say how this game was better with the controller, and you've heard Ven say... Ven tends to agree with that sentiment. I, on the other hand, have a Rocat Kova Plus YOLO Swag LED mouse with 7 buttons that, with the Rocat tools for
It's
Linux...
got more buttons than you do fingers.
Yeah. It allows me to remap each and every single one of these buttons to whatever I want. And after 25 hours of play with both the keyboard and the mouse, I have no complaints. It seems to me like this game is perfectly playable with the 2.
Are you telling me you have no input lag whatsoever?
I do. Like I said, in the
You're just going to excuse it. Okay, I got you.
Yes, this game has put me in a very good mood, because this is a very good game. I'll get into it more in the fun section. But I'm going to excuse it on a number of things. The input lag is one of them, because as far as the combat system goes, it's noticeable, but if you account for it, you can sort of work around it. You can also rebind keys and adjust mouse sensitivity, and the prompts, like Jordan already mentioned, they change accordingly to whatever type of controller or mouse and keyboard or whatever you're using. It'll give you the appropriate prompts on screen. And to me, that's pretty good. I'm going to give it 4 cheers.
All right. so that's 3 cheers for controls, and finally our last subjective category. And did you have fun?
Well, I put
You put about 20 hours.
20 hours in it now, 12 plus hours. This is what at the time of writing. And, you know, that's actually approaching wing time, the last game, Shadow Warrior, that I played for such a duration. I guess the only game I can even remotely compare this to, and even though it wasn't a Linux game, but it was one of my Heretic purchases, and that would be Skyrim. But you just got to remember that, shiteballs moment in Skyrim when you learned who Paarthurnax was. Yeah, this game lacks that when it comes to story. Well, they try with the whole big, who was the creator of the rings. And it's, I guess, kind of, but P-Man's like, well, there's some other stuff that goes on later on, so I'm not going to hold that against him.
But is Aegon Targaryen going to crush the Baratheon rebellion?
Listen, man, I'm not a huge fan of the mythology of George R.R. Martin, so just bear with me here.
All right.
If you loathe stealth games, the first hour is a fuck-mothering chore. Get that in your brain organ. 30 minutes in, I hit the googs, and I tried to figure out just what the hell I was doing wrong, because I was absolutely genuinely getting killed to death. Turns out, Mr. Ranger Pants starts out a bit useless. Seriously. Was Talon, like, in the Ranger Reserves, ? Because I kind of understand why Hallis didn't want Budget Rangers snogging his daughter. Hell, he was probably just concerned about Talon's ability to defend his Oh, right. About 4 hours in, you finally collect enough abilities to have some proper fun. And by proper fun, I mean the ability to curb stomp some York. But don't let that fool you. The game does a proper job of ramping up the difficulty. Just last night, well, it was technically this morning, I was a tad overconfident and targeted the wrong fucking war chief, and reverted back to, fuck, run, because I don't want to kill him, for the system to balance that out. Speaking of that, I have no clue how to take advantage of the Nemesis system. I use it as a checklist. That's it. Kill all the things. I don't understand. I know how it works, but I don't understand the usefulness of it. That has not been properly conveyed to me, but I'm a bit thick. And by the way, Mordor has some bugs and some glitches. That's not Feral's fault at all. I mean, they did a very genuine copy of all the bugs that are in the Windows version have come over to the Linux version. But at the end of the day, I really enjoyed it. It's fun. I've put 20 fucking hours into this, and I plan on probably putting another 10 or 15. So, yeah, this is a brilliant thing. You know, with all of its flaws, it doesn't have the lackady hairdo. It doesn't have sparkly cowboy boots. It needs some performance patches. It needs to sort the controller shit out right. And once they get that sorted, this could very well be one of the better games that we've ever had on the Linux platform. So, on the fun section, I'm going to give it a solid 3 cheers.
Oh yeah, it's certainly entertaining, and it's not easy. One of the nice things is that the game's AI learns from your patterns, and if you adopt one strategy for taking people out, they're gonna know. Oh, hey, post archers everywhere. Don't have bushes, or like spread out, and don't. Anyways, it's the Nemesis system is really good for that. I still haven't discovered the ins and outs. I just basically run around and start interrogating every group of people I find, and gets you your arrows back, gets you some free instant kill.
Are you talking about the video game or real? Okay.
No, and then I went home and started playing Shadow.
Well, column A, little column B. All right, guys.
Much like Ben, probably a little bit worse because I got a late start to the game. I died a lot during the intro and fucked a lot of the positioning up. Some people I wanted to maybe turn against each other, or I don't even remember what the state of my Nemesis system is because I haven't been playing for a couple hours. But I am gonna go back and play this game some more. It is genuinely fun. It is Batman in Middle Earth. It's your standard prototypey Assassin's Creed, Infamous type game, and I think Linux is certainly lacking that. We're probably going to get another one when Batman comes out. I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, no bugs. Like Ven mentioned in the Mix with Working, this game does not like to quit if you close it, and this happened every time I have closed the game. It just has the process keep running in the background. I have a legitimate extra hour of gameplay on this game because I exited to go take a break or like get a snack or something, and it's still running in the background. One thing, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's entertaining. It is a fun game. I don't really have much else to say about that. So, yeah, 3 chairs.
Yeah, it's very hard to put it down once you start it, and that's not even talking about the bug that the game does close.
You can easily lose a couple hours and not realize it.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna go over here. Oh wait, it's dinner time.
On my end, I haven't had that bug that you exit the game and it doesn't close. It's actually been working reasonably well. I haven't had any of the spite crashes at all either. So I don't know what the hell's up with that, but it is very hard to put it down once you start playing. And as far as power fantasy fulfilling games go, this one is hands down the best Linux game that we have for that. There are bugs, yes, there are. I haven't had any of the crashes, but every now and again the physics engine will lock up, and when you kill an Uruk, they'll just stiffen up and fall to the ground like they were statues, like.
It's because they're weeping angels, Pedro.
Yeah. It also happened more than once that I was, telling Talion to climb a wall, and he jumps onto a ledge that is still slightly off screen, and at this point I'm guessing that the surrounding bits hadn't rendered yet, and he literally gets stuck in a wall. It's like, oh, you're halfway into the wall at this point. Huh. Thankfully, the game makes it so that you can fast travel to one of the Baratsilm at that point, so it's barely an inconvenience. Admittedly, it's kind of an amusing one. I've dinged chairs, and this goes back to the previous section as well. I've dinged chairs to other games for less issues than this game has, but this one is so good and it's put me in such a good mood that I'm willing to overlook the 10 times that the input lag has killed me and the times I wound up inside a wall. So for me, it gets 4 chairs.
All right, and if we tally that up, we get 3 chairs for fun, and we tally that whole mess up, and we get 3 whole chairs for Shadows of Mordor, Middle-earth. And yeah, I mean, it's nice to see some Lord of the Rings getting represented on Linux. I didn't really get into the story in the fun section. It does some interesting things with the existing mythology. I thought Celebrimbor was an interesting choice for having him being your Wraith companion. He's the guy who originally created the rings. Sauron just gave him the schematics. Blah, blah, blah. Nerds! Go read the Silmarillion. Pedro.
Yeah, unless someone comes out of the blue and blows me away with their game, this is going to be Linux Game of the Year for me.
I don't know. I mean, that's a couple things. If this critter actually gets a genuine performance boost, the next patches or next few patches, I mean, this isn't busted like Dying Light was. Dying Light was completely fucking unplayable. This is completely fucking playable in the biggest way.
It's just like Raven's Cry.
I know, right? You'll do yourself a favor if you cut off Steam Overlay and the FERPS counter, because once you see how low it's dipping, but it just slows down. It's a very classy way of doing it without giving you the herky jerks. Maybe when I get further in the game and I actually run into Joffrey or the Mountain or the Kingslayer, I'll get more into the story. But, yeah, I'm going to have to agree with Pedro. I mean, this could be the Linux Game of the Year, at least until the goddamn Batman arrives.
I'm still holding my breath for Gauntlet. Anyways, up next, we have a very jam-packed 8-mail section, so stay tuned for that.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's the hate mail. And at this point, if you don't know how to get in touch with us, what the hell are you doing with your life? It's easy. You just fill out the thing and you click the submit button. It's not that hard. Come on, just pull the stick of glue out of your mouth. So let's get on with it, shall we?
All right, this is coming from Earl Fred. Hey, right, so Do you or the other LGC guys want to be credited in Skullgirls? Haven't heard from you guys about it yet. Sorry to be a nag, but let me know. Exclamation point. Up next! You'll love this game. Hi there, Vin. It's great to meet you. I'm a huge fan of your blog. I want to pass on something new.
Oh, yeah, all those blog posts we write.
I'm telling you, check out our project. Jack Kudos on 6. Okay, check this out. We think that Jack Kudos could be a great story for Linux Gamecast for these. This reads like a fucking checklist of shit we would never personally endorse as a company. Family friendly, promotes good health, focuses on positivity, and made for everyone.
See, if you did the exact opposite, if you made it the least family friendly thing, promotes like eating nothing but McDonald's and fucking lounging around in a kiddie pool, focuses entirely on negativity and telling you that you're a terrible person.
It is entitled.
And is only made for Cambodian pregnant women. Then this would be a game that we'd actually be interested in covering.
And
but
she puts a bow on this. She says, if you're interested, please let me know. If I can make the writing process, I'll write the article for you and your team. I'm happy to send more high-res photos. We launched recently on Wednesday, July 15th at 7 a.m. PST. Thanks for taking the time. Andrea et al. Boswell Incorporated, Bonswell.com. Well, you know what I did, Brad?
You hit Marcus spam.
We were talking about Kickstarter earlier this week and how somebody was like, oh man, hey, not necessarily hitting us with spam. Somebody was like, hey man, have you checked out this Kickstarter? And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm loaded up. I hit Control F, type in Linux, and if it turns red, I just close the tab. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't bitching about that. I was just talking about that on RG Plus. And lo and behold, less than 45 minutes later, this shows up. And I was like, this is the type of shit we have to deal with every week. And, of course, everyone got in there. I think eShep's like, you're going to have to throw couches at this and all that. I just didn't reply with anything but a link to that post.
That's about right. Up next.
And she wrote back.
Oh, we're gonna discuss this discourse, or
I'm paraphrasing. It was like, I'm sorry. I believe we have made some mistake. Please accept our sincerity.
We made a horrible mistake.
We done goofed.
We may have.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you ever hear about Jack Kudos on Kickstarter, which doesn't even have Linux support, tell him to eat a ginormous bag of dicks. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just greedy.
It's a big bag of dicks, not necessarily a bag of big dicks. Up next! This is from Kembrotron number 1, and he's complaining to Ven about the metal. He says, Ven, you ignorant slut. Did you forget about the metal intro in the video? You have 2 excuses why that happened. A, you listened to dubstep. Bad, Ven, bad. And B, you forgot metal intro at Vakken Open Air, which I actually really want to go to. For that, I forgive you. So... Ben, you got any feedback for this game?
I'll tell you exactly what happened. I done goofed. Someone should call the internet police on me. That's how bad I goofed on that one.
I'm going to report you to the state police and the cyber police.
You really should. What happened was I put the metal intro in there.
Consequences will never be the same.
Then I tried to finish the sentence, which those two don't normally jive well in the same abode, but we're going to give it a take 2. Let's try this. I put the metal intro in there on the timeline. Then I synced everything up and just wasn't thinking, slid everything to the left and did it. If I had went back when I initially played it, that metal intro would have covered up like the first 8 seconds of us doing the intro. So it was either wait until Tuesday to get everything done, re-encode every single thing, re-upload everything, or just not have that in there. So we chose that. My bad, full fault at that. But something we skipped over was Linux
just
Blacklist.
Slightly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Linux Blacklist was like, at Venstone, you're welcome. LinuxBlacklist.com. Let me know how you envision it working, and we'll make it happen. Yeah. I don't know. Okay. Double Fine is in the cool section. That's fine with me.
Well, you know how I know they're not in the super squad and know about our other idea? The one that we actually decided to run with. That's how. Cool side, Brad. Keep it up. Yeah, I mean, the sincerest form of, what is it, with flattery and all that?
Plagiarismo.
Plagiarismo.
Plagiarism is the sincerest form of flattery.
You got to be a plagiarophile.
Yes. You're
I'm
either a
plagiar-
plagiarophile or you're a pedrophile. Anything else, we got a problem.
I'm Chris Hansen. Can you take a seat? Up next, this is from Chris, and he says, in regards to Mr. MT showing up on our show, he says, Mike Tehan, good job on your first appearance. They're saying Sandy is dead, so hopefully you get to show up more. Sandy is not dead. He's currently in suspended animation, waiting for. Well, we'll get to that next week.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, Mike did a pretty good job. We'd like to have him on the show again.
No,
He's
I
up
mean,
to it.
there's something that genuinely warms my dark black racist heart cockles is when
You said cockle.
yeah, that's also racist. When we have people that listen to the show, and you know, Empty's always contributed to the show in more ways than one, like to the point now I'm like, dude, I mean, I'm almost like exhibiting guilt. I'm like, you don't have to do everything, man. You're too awesome. And when you can go from listening to the show and actually being on the show, and that's where we want more people to come in. We had Strider.
Frenchie.
Yeah, Frenchie came in. I mean, that's how Sandy came in. Matt came in, and
Pedro.
Free Jack and Pedro.
That's how I came in.
So yeah, that's just awesome having that transition. And don't worry, the Sandman shall return. He's just in his stasis chamber regenerating. I mean, he's kind of like Bio Brawly with a mohawk. I mean, it's just as kinky as you can imagine. But you
Way
know
to
what?
pull out the Bio Brawly reference.
On that bombshell, let's cue the music, because you can always find us around 9:30 Eastern Standard Moon Time. Just check for the time in Athens, Georgia. It'll give you the business. I'm Vinstone, cleverly disguised at Vinstone on the Twitter nets, plus Vinstone on the G+s.
I'm the world champion Mark Satan fighting Bio Brawly. You can find me on Twitter at The Burning Fool or on Google Plus at Plus Jordan Spung.
At least they haven't cloned Sandy yet, so I suppose you can still find me. You know, I'm
Yes.
Plage Marizzo. I'm the only Plage Marizzo in the world. You can find me at Unaccounted For on Twitter or Plus Pedro Matos on Google Plus.
And I guess at the end of the day, beautiful party people, zombie demon hordes of the internet, we can just all agree that, you know, George R.R. Martin really was the best source material for the Shadows of Mordor, wasn't it?
I would say so, yeah. I really think they could benefit from Ursula K. Le Guin, but you know, that's just me.
I don't know. It needs more 9 3/4 platforms in there.
I don't even know what the fuck that means, Pedro.
Yeah, go home, Pedro. You're drunk.
Actually, I think Pedro actually had a good power fantasy. I don't even know what he's
Power,
Yes.
power fantasy.
And it's George R.R. Tolkien. Thank you very much.
5 dudes.